What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. More reviews coming up in December, January, and next year. I have tons of stuff over here. It's like FPV Christmas. I've been on vacation for about 3 weeks. Well, not actually vacation. I was on a working vacation because I had to go back to North Carolina and work on my house out there and replace some floors. You know, that was a lot of fun. The termites did terrible damage to my floors out there on the East Coast. So now we have brand new floors, and I put a lot of work in to that house, heart and soul. In every single nail of that house. I love it. So it was originally built by my great-grandfather, so I really wanted to get out there and make sure that that house is taken care of. So I'm back today with another review. This is the Geprc SMART16. A lot of you guys are asking about this. Should I get it? What do you think about it? Have you flown it? I know it's been out there on the interwebs for about 10 days or so. Some of the other reviewers jumped on it, and I've been flying mine this week. I'm sort of like one of the other reviewers out there that just recently made a video about the same quad, and he mentioned that he also takes his time with the quads. I don't just try to be the first guy to review something. I like to fly it, get to know it, put it through some real cycles and test before I give you my opinion on something. Otherwise, I don't know about the durability. I don't know about the power system, if it's going to hold up, and the frame itself, the camera mount, all of that. So 55 grams, 2S, 1S, 380 milliamp battery comes along with it. I got 4 in the box. I don't know that you will, but you also have a CATX amp camera on here. We have a 1mm top plate, 1.5mm bottom plate. It's a unibody, and we have new motors on here from Geprc. These are 0803 11,000 kV motors. Now, these are way lower kV. Thank you, Geprc, for doing that because it makes it more efficient. This little guy flies about 3.5 minutes versus some of the other whoops out there only get like 2 minutes flight time. So if you're looking for the best whoop with a longer flight time that you can fly indoors or outdoors, and it will freestyle, this little guy will power loop just about anything. I can do flips and rolls over top of tree branches. I can canopy surf. I can get up and do power loops over and under things. I mean, it's kind of incredible how maneuverable and fast and flowy this little guy feels. It feels really nice on the sticks. It tracks really well low to the ground and super fast without kind of dipping in the throttle and causing a forward tumble crash. Long flight time, amazing indoors and outdoors. It's just a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about what you can do to mod this and upgrade it coming up next after the flight report, and 200 milliwatt on this baby as well. So this is like all the things that I want in a whoop, with new lower kV motors and the ability to power loop and freestyle, indoor, outdoor, whatever you want. Cinema, slap on an Insta360 Go 2 on here, and do what you want with the little SMART16. So let's go head outside. Let's do some ripping with it. We'll come back in and I'll give you my final opinion on this one, and we'll look at this little guy a little bit closer up. It's whoop season. Here we go, guys. All right, guys, by itself on the scale, the frame, the motors, the 40mm props, we're looking at 36 grams. If we add one 380 milliamp HV battery, we're looking at 45 grams. If we add one more, making it 2S, we're looking at around 55 grams total takeoff weight. So I'm just gonna double check that. The scale decided to go off. My battery's low, but we're gonna weigh it real quick with 2. That's 54 grams. And with the Insta360 Go 2, you're looking at 81 grams. So way underneath the FAA's registration. And I gotta say, that's actually pretty light because the UR65 is around 30 grams with a battery. And this has prop guards on here. This is kind of my, I guess I would say this is my alternative. If you want something cheaper, go for the Eachine UZ65, guys. I mean, this one got 13,000 views on the review a while back. It does fly for around 3 minutes. It has 0802 motors with tri-blade props on here. It's got that PH 2.0 connector. I believe it also has a Cadex Ant on here. It is brushless and it's fairly maneuverable, but it's not quite as much as a freestyle beast as this little guy. This looks like something I would have wanted to build like years ago, and I've been talking about the perfect 2S Whoop for a while now because, I mean, if you've been watching the channel in the last couple months, I got so many of these 1S Whoops coming in. It was crazy. Beta FPV, everybody's releasing all the 1S Whoops right now. It's Whoop season, and I understand why, but I mentioned that in a lot of those reviews, I wish that I had more power, and I wish that I was up in the 2S battery power on most of those, and I wished I had that option, but some of the hardware would not allow us to do that with like 5 amp ESCs. You're not going to be able to run 2S with 5 amp ESCs. So here we come with the SMART35. It's kind of the answer to my prayer. So we've got 78mm sort of True X unibody plate. This is 1.5mm bottom plate on the bottom and 1mm top plate. It has this cool little TPU battery mount that you can take on and off by hand, and you can slide it around. You can also put one on the bottom, so you could have bottom mount batteries or top mount. We have 0803 redesigned, brand new, these are 11,000 kV motors. So these are a little bit nicer than what we've had in the past. The 0802 motors, in my opinion, have always been super high kV, and they kind of paid attention to what we've been saying about these motors. They've been like 19,000 kV, just really draws a lot of amps out. It's high RPM, but honestly, we just need some good power at the low end and mid range of the throttle. I feel like at the bottom of some of my power loops with this quad, it was not quite as responsive because of, I guess because of the scale and the weight of this quad. Around 55 grams with 40mm props. You're going to feel some weight to it, but honestly, when I really went to the top of the throttle, I could pull out of power loops pretty quick. And having the camera tilted up quite a bit outside really helped out a lot. I was going like Mach speed up and down the sidewalk. I was able to power loop trees, telephone wires, and it'll actually do a pretty tight power loop, which is kind of impressive. We have 12 amp ESCs on here as well. We have an F411 flight controller. We also have 5.8 video on here, and that's 200 milliwatt with the dipole. It has a UFL connector, so you can take that off and you could change it to a right-hand circular polarized antenna if you want to get rid of the dipole. But honestly, I didn't feel like the video was all that bad. I felt like it was acceptable for even for outdoor and indoor flying. Indoor flying, you can put this in stability mode, and you can really do some nice kind of fast flying indoors. And I gotta say that the durability test, and one of the other reviewers, he broke one of the front motors right where the motor connects on these two bolts right here. That might be a compromise spot for this design. It could probably use maybe another millimeter of carbon around the outside of where the screws go through to the motor. I think that would have made a little bit of difference. If they come out with a plate, again, the bottom plate that was around 2mm, it would be more similar to the Rocket design, and probably give you just a little stiffer bottom plate might save you in a crash. Now, this was also after he had done like probably 30 flights on that quad, and that's quite a few hits. So that's something to think about. Everybody, you know, every single crash is different, and everybody flies different. So with mine, I've been flying mine for the last 3 days, indoors and outdoors. I have punished this quad inside on hardwoods. I have hit the refrigerator. I hit a chair. It just also depends on how it hits, when it hits. So that really determines a lot in a crash. Whether it's a small, little, tiny 40 millimeter prop size like this, or a 3-inch, or a 5-inch, or a 6-inch. I've had some seriously hard crashes and walked away with no damage before. And that's the fun thing about FPV race quads. I see that this one comes in around $134.99 on the Bango website. I think it's probably one of the cheaper quads out there because of COVID and everything. Everything's a little more expensive. We have a chip shortage as well, shipping shortage. You know, there's just a lot going on in the world that's making everything really difficult to manufacture things right now. So I feel like this one is a little easier to get a hold of at $134.99. You can also add TBS Crossfire on there. You can add ELRS receiver on there. You can do 2.4 or 915 megahertz on here. So that's pretty sweet. Also, I gotta say, mine came without a receiver on there, and I put an XM Plus on there and tucked it right under that 200 milliwatt VTX, and I just ran the antennas haphazardly out the bottom and flew it around, and the range on this is pretty good. I've been about a mile out on an XM Plus, actually a little over a mile out, testing an airplane with this particular receiver, so you can get tons of range. You don't necessarily have to have ELRS with something that you're only going to fly for, say, 3.5 minutes. How far out, how many miles are you going to go out 3.5 minutes if you're trying to do miniature long range? It's just not quite there yet with the battery time versus the weight and the distance that some of these ELRS receivers can go. They are nice, but it's not totally required. You're going to have fun with this quad anyway. So I think it's a pocket rocket. It is, in my opinion, one of the best from this year, and it's kind of a home run for Geprc right here at the end of December. So in my opinion, what I grabbed this, absolutely, I think that I would love to see like 5 or 6 of these show up in a parking lot and have a Whoop course set up, a microbrushless course outdoors. This would be so much fun. Or even LED gates indoors. These would be awesome if like 5 guys had these. And again, you can put a little mount on here, a TPU mount. You could do some cinema if you want to. These are the 380 milliamp batteries that came along with it. And you know, this little guy right here, it has a PH 2.0 connector. It is compatible with this charger right here, and the charger is only going to charge HV batteries. It does have markings on there for HV, which goes up to 4.35 volt. And the cool thing about this charger, what's cool about it? Did you notice anything special about this charger? It looks pretty similar to other chargers out there, but it has 2 power points on here. So you can power this off of a USB-C on this side, or you can plug it into the wall here with an AC outlet or your laptop. So that's kind of cool. They give us 2 options. You can run it off of a power bank with this or this side. So an old school USB. I'm almost thinking they could save some size and weight if they just started removing these and having them powered by USB-C. Would that be a bad thing? I think it would just make things a little more streamlined because, wow, that's such a smaller connector than something like this. But these charge up in about 10 minutes time and you're off and flying. Also inside the box you get some instructions, you get some extra props, a screwdriver, some hardware, and it seems like I got maybe the SMART16 instructions in here. It's got some Betaflight setup, receiver wiring. It should wire up. Hopefully it's the same stack as what we had in the SMART35. It is a little tiny stack. So I believe that's like 16 millimeter for this stack actually. It has an Android USB port on there. And we have smart audio already set up, and I love that it's 200 milliwatt. This is the extra hardware in here, extra screws. These are all M2 screws, some extra dampening as well if you need to take that stack apart. And they give you 2 options for batteries in here. This is cool. I'm not a big fan of these type of straps, so I just went with the TPU mount. And I think this is a lot cleaner looking. What do you guys think? These straps are are great in a pinch, but a lot of times I don't use these. They're kind of finicky to pull apart and put back on. So this is nice and quick to be able to slide both of these batteries on there. And you know, honestly, I think you could probably fly this if you had one of the stopper dongles on one side. If you put a plug in this, you might be able to fly it on 1S, and that would be a lot of fun for beginners. But honestly, I think for beginners in stability mode, start out in stability mode and work your way up to the holy grail of FPV, which is acro mode. And you know, you guys are going to have a ton of fun with the SMART16. I think this one is an easy buy again. It's just so much fun. I had fun with the SMART16. I think it's just one of the neatest ones. What would you buy? Should you buy this one or buy the Flywoo Hex? More motors, more problems, right? So I would buy this one. It's just a no-brainer. It can do cinema, it can do indoor flying, and it can do freestyle. And it freestyles like a little maniac. It has so much flow. The tune is good. Slight vibration at some really hard turns. But for the most part, I think it's a 90% a good tune on here. I don't have to touch the PIDs in beta flight. So it's a win for me, guys. Decent CADX Ant, Gym fan props, 200 milliwatt VTX on here, F411 flight controller, and multiple options, mounting options for the battery. And you can upgrade this to an XT30, and you can run a 2S 380 milliamp battery from GNB, which is my preferred battery. I'll put the link down for that below, and some extra props and things like that. But yeah, have fun with this one, guys. That's my opinion on this one. It's definitely going to be 2 thumbs up from my channel. I didn't have any damage on mine, and it's an absolute blast. It is a blaster. It is a mini micro blaster 2S Whoop that answered my prayers. So I love it. Take care, guys. Check out the links down below. Be well, and I will see you on the next one.